Kia ora. This is Kristina from the Mahara Project in Aotearoa. Before our team goes on to a short break for the holidays, I wanted to give you an update on our Mahara refresh. We started this work with feedback sessions and an extensive information architecture review that was led by our business analyst Rob Hill back in December 2023. In 2024, we've reviewed the wireframes with community members and had very positive feedback around them. Our graphic designer, Yvonne Cheng, then turned the wireframes into mock-ups that formed the basis for the refresh development work, which we then started right after the release of Mahara 2504. So that was in May this year. Yvonne leads the graphic design implementation of the refresh together with Doris Tam, who is the technical lead for this project. They are supported by our developers Phil Sainty and Yvonne Waterman, and also our technical lead for the overall Mahara project, Robert Lyon. So we are planning on rolling out the refresh at the end of April next year in our 2604 release. That's really only a few months away, and the team is working diligently to convert every single piece of Mahara to the new look. So I want to take the opportunity today to show you the progress and walk you through some of the changes that you can see. So if you haven't done anything in your Mahara portfolio yet, you will see the dashboard with a number of nice illustrations that Yvonne created to liven up the dashboard. Now, if you do already have some content, you see that, of course, in the sections on the dashboard, and as usual, you can continue putting the sections onto the page that you prefer to see there. What you will notice instantly, and if you've watched an earlier video of our refresh update, you will already know that we have moved the navigation to the left-hand side so that it is always available for you, so that you can always go to the main areas of Mahara simply on the left-hand side, including also reusable content like files, journals, plans, CPD, and so on. Other navigation elements that are less frequently used are accessible at the top right via your personal account menu, where you can see all of these areas that you can then still access, but that are secondary. One of the big reasons for the refresh was that over the last 19 years that Mahara has existed, we have made changes to Mahara, experimenting with new ways of displaying content, new ways of working online, and not necessarily always implemented that in all areas of Mahara then consistently, which resulted in an interface that can sometimes feel a bit disjointed because every time you are in a different area of Mahara, it might look slightly different. What we have done now with the refresh is bring everything back to a common baseline so that Mahara is easier to navigate throughout the entire site, that in particular overview pages are more consistent, therefore avoiding that portfolio authors and also portfolio viewers need to reorient themselves all the time in the different areas of Mahara. And so if you're taking a look, for example, into the portfolios overview page, you see that there is a table now. And that is pretty much what we also have in other areas like groups, files, CPD, and so on. There's always a table. That is a design element that many of our portfolio authors are used to from other applications, therefore making it easier for them to find their way around Mahara instantly without needing to figure out how the interface works. And so in the table, you see the most important information directly there. You always have your action items on the right-hand side. If there's a lot of actions, then you will see a drop-down menu If there's only up to 3 actions, then we will display the buttons immediately. With the portfolios, there is more information, of course, available, like a creation date, description, and tags. That information is accessible via a secondary click so that you can view it if you want to. But for the most part, if you just want to have a quick glance, that information doesn't clutter your screen. We decided to go with the collapsible because that works really well also on smaller screens for responsive design, because then you continue to scroll only in one direction, and that is vertically, rather than also horizontally. You also see very important information displayed directly through these little bubbles, like in this case that the portfolio has been shared. And of course, you can still continue searching for portfolios. Now, if you're going to the Groups Overview page, you'll see things very similarly. Again, the most important information is displayed. We have the collapsible available if you want to see more details. And because there are fewer actions on groups, we display the buttons directly. Now, the People page is also one that has gotten a refresh in our refresh. So you can quickly scan the list of people as well. And then there are the actions, again, very easily available on the right-hand side, very consistent with all the other screens. If you're taking a look at a portfolio page itself, in this case, I'm going to take a look at a collection. You see that we moved the collection navigation also to the left-hand side. So if you don't want to see your main menu, you can always click the little button on the left and reduce it to the icons, or you can leave it uncollapsed. Having the navigation on the left-hand side is really helpful because you can just jump between the pages and you instantly also know how many pages there are in your collection. Ideally, also, this invites you to keep the page titles short and make it easily scannable, which is then also improved accessibility for any portfolio viewer. Now, if you're taking a look at the page itself, it is still very similar to what we had because it is still a page, but there have been some design improvements. For example, tags are more easily displayed as tags as such rather than just links. And we've also separated functions so that now the quick edit has its own button, and that sits then alongside the commenting in details functionality, rather than being that two buttons together where it's difficult to understand why they are together because they are doing just very different tasks. If you want to edit a page, you go into edit mode, and as you can see, the collection navigation stays available so that you can also very easily go to a different page without first needing to go into the display mode. As you used to, you can drag and drop the plus icon onto the page to add a new section, or of course you can also just click the icon and then you have your modal available. This modal is not open anymore from the right-hand side, but shows up in the middle of your screen because that way we make better use of the space available. And you can, again, display all the different block types that we have in order to find the one that you want to work with. What you wouldn't have seen in the last video that I made is that we now have 4 more buttons available on the right-hand side. That is also a convenience because these are the 4 most frequently used block types that the administrator defined as being the first 4 that are shown when adding a section. That way you can very quickly now add a text block, for example, without needing to go through the placeholder option. And of course, as usual, you can drag and drop your blocks. You can resize the blocks and you can edit or delete them. Similarly on other screens. And so what you can see here on the groups is also the little bubbles that we work with to give quick information about a particularly important property. You see it also in the files area in particular, where we have that for submitted items so that you can spot them more quickly. And so the team has made incredible progress over the last few months on this refresh, because really every single page in Mahara, every single modal had to be looked at. Yes, we have been using functions so that when one component was updated, that it was updated in all the places. However, sometimes we've made customizations in the past for certain actions, and so everything does need to be looked at. And so it's quite a lot of work that has gone into this, lots of back and forth, in particular between Doris and Yvonne, and then the others working on individual areas of Mahara to make this redesign possible. What you're seeing here is the raw theme, so the base theme that we have. Currently, Yvonne is reviewing the default theme and also the configurable theme, so that we can then also provide you with instructions on how to build your own theme based on that new raw theme. Besides this update for our refresh, I do also want to leave you with a little Christmas gift in showing you how to insert a material symbol into text that I had added in the last newsletter. Some of you might be subscribed to. And so if you want to spruce up your own text, it is pretty easy to do. Here I'm just copying the default HTML code that we need. We do have a number of the material symbols in Mahara itself, so you could reference them by their name, but that could then also mean you first need to look up the symbol, find what it's called, and so an easier way would be to find the symbol that you want to use from the material symbols. So if, for example, you wanted to add an icon to your instruction, you could look for the icon. In this case, I want to show that you can juggle things. And so if you're looking at this icon, then I scroll all the way to the bottom. And the icon name is person celebrate, person_celebrate. If an icon consists of 2 words or more words, so if you're looking at inbox, then the words are always joined by underscores. And the icon name itself is always lowercase. Going back to Mahara then, if I go into one of my portfolios and want to add an instruction, then I can add my instruction normally. So if I want to include that icon, I can now go into the source code and add my span. And so the icon name goes inside the span. Save that, and my icon is entered. I do not need to create an image from the icon, but I can simply add the icon. And so if I wanted to change that, all I need to do is change the word and the new icon is displayed. So it's very easy to add icons into your text in Mahara. This is my little holiday gift to you. Once we consider the changes ready for more holistic testing, we will invite you to give this new look a go yourself. If you don't want to wait until then and already have a look now, you can pull the Redesign main branch and check out the latest changes. Please note, though, that work is still ongoing in other branches for this refresh and that we work component by component, so that while some pages will look largely done, there may still be some details that need to be dealt with. So that's really it from me today. On behalf of our Mahara team at Catalyst, I wish you a wonderful last few days of 2025 and all the best for the coming year. We look forward to talking with you again in 2026. If you'd like to chat with us, post questions or comments in the forums, join our Matrix channel, or come along to our monthly live online Mahara Ask Me Anything sessions. They will resume back on the 13th of January 2026.